If you've ever felt just totally overwhelmed by your emotions, or maybe caught yourself acting a bit impulsively when the pressure's on, well, you are in exactly the right place. We're going to break down 2 game-changing mindfulness tools that literally shift how you process and react to the world. It's all about knowing whether you need to take a step back and observe, or dive right in and actively participate. So, here's our game plan for today. First, we'll look at our ultimate goal, finding your wise mind. Then, we'll tackle the what skill. That's our zooming out. After that, the how skill, which is zooming in. And finally, we'll wrap up with your daily toolkit.
All right, let's jump into part 1. The goal, wise mind.
Before we get into the nitty-gritty of these specific skills themselves, we really need to set our baseline objective. Okay, imagine getting one of those classic, frustrating, passive-aggressive emails from a coworker. We've all been there, right? On one side, you have your emotional mind. It's totally in the driver's seat, screaming at you to fire off a nasty reply right this second. But then, on the exact opposite side, you have your rational mind. Now, it deals only in cold, hard facts, but it might actually lead you to completely ignore the interpersonal nuance of the whole situation. So our objective today is to find that sweet spot right in the middle, the wise mind. It's that coveted center where your logical thinking and your emotions perfectly align. It honors the fact that, yeah, you're frustrated, and that is totally valid, but it uses reason to guide you toward a professional, effective response. But how do we actually get to that balanced center and stop those impulsive decisions? Well, it all rests on the foundation of mindfulness. And look, in the context of DBT, mindfulness is definitely not just about sitting cross-legged on a cushion. It's an active, everyday necessity. It's the anchor that keeps us locked into the present moment so we don't get swept away by the intense currents of the emotional mind or get stuck in the rigid mud of the rational mind. Now, here's the core of what we're talking about today. The fundamental difference between the what and the how mindfulness skills basically comes down to this. Are you taking a step back to observe a situation, or are you actively rolling up your sleeves and immersing yourself in it? The what skill is strictly about observation and description, while the how skill is all about full participation. But here's the kicker. Both of them require you to stay engaged in the present moment, and both absolutely demand a non-judgmental attitude. Think of them like 2 totally different lenses on your camera. Knowing when to swap them, that's the real secret to emotional regulation. Which brings us to section 2, the what skill, zooming out. Let's crack open our first tool. This one is all about taking a strategic step back. I want you to imagine you're watching a movie of your own life, rather than being the lead actor in it. The what skill means you become a completely neutral observer. You're observing and describing exactly what is happening inside you and around you. Your thoughts, your feelings, your physical sensations, and your environment. You're literally just asking yourself, okay, what is happening right now? You might notice, hey, my heart is beating super fast, or I'm feeling a massive wave of anxiety, or even just, wow, it is really loud in this room. You are identifying the facts without trying to change them or figure out why they're happening. You're basically just a scientist gathering data. And we really need to pause here because this is absolutely crucial, and honestly, it's usually the hardest part. This observation has to be completely, 100% free of judgment. No self-criticism, no interpretation. Because let's be real, when we feel a negative emotion, our first instinct is to immediately put ourselves on trial, right? We think, oh, I shouldn't be angry about this, or it's so embarrassing that I'm stressed right now. But the exact second you add that judgment, you're not observing anymore. You are reacting. The what skill demands that you just note the feeling. I am experiencing anger, period. You just politely leave it at that. So what's the payoff for doing this? Well, by mastering this objective observation, you give yourself the emotional distance you need to gain true insight into your current experiences. When you strip away all that judgment and the dramatic stories we tell ourselves, you actually get to see reality for what it is. Practicing the what skill keeps you grounded in the present moment. It literally stops your emotions from spiraling into a full-blown crisis because it buys you that critical split second to choose your wise mind. All right, let's switch gears to section 3, the how skill, zooming in. So if the what skill is zooming out to look at the map, the how skill is putting the car in drive, hitting the gas, and focusing entirely on the road. This is the art of full participation. Instead of stepping back, you are completely immersing yourself in whatever activity you're doing right now. And again, no judging yourself or others. You're letting go of all that heavy baggage of past worries or future anxieties. If you're doing something, you are doing it 100%. You aren't half writing an email while stressing over a weird conversation from yesterday, and you aren't dreading tomorrow's meeting. You are throwing yourself entirely into the present action. And here is the really cool part. When you lock into this level of total engagement, not only do you perform way better, but you actually unlock a deeper appreciation for the task at hand. You find more enjoyment in the present moment.
By practicing the how skill, you cut out that mental friction that completely drains our energy. Honestly, you'll probably be surprised to find that when you fully immerse yourself in even the most boring everyday activities, life just feels more vibrant and a whole lot less stressful.
Let's put this into practice. Section 4, the daily toolkit. Now that we know how to zoom out and zoom in, we've got to weave this into our everyday routines. Because listen, these skills are exactly like muscles. They only get stronger if you use them consistently when the stakes are super low. That way they're actually ready for you when a real crisis hits. So for the what skill, try sitting in silence for just a few minutes. Watch your thoughts float by like clouds, or practice paying attention to your bodily sensations. Maybe go for a walk and specifically notice the colors of nature around you. For the how skill, pick a totally basic daily chore, like brushing your teeth. And I mean, fully engage in the physical task of brushing your teeth. Notice the minty taste, the feeling of the bristles, the sound of the water. No multitasking allowed, just full participation. When you consciously alternate between observing your environment and fully participating in your actions, you keep a firm grip on that wise mind we talked about. Here's how it works in real time. A stressor hits. First, you hit them with the what skill. You step back and observe the urge to panic or act out. No judgment, just noticing it. Then you use the how skill to pivot and fully immerse yourself in executing the logical, effective next step. It's a 1-2 punch for conquering emotional overwhelm. Which brings us to a question for you. As you step back into the rest of your day, I challenge you. Identify one upcoming stressor you're going to face and decide right now which of these 2 skills will best help you stay grounded. Are you going to need to zoom out and use the what skill to neutrally observe the facts? Or will you need to zoom in with the how skill and fully participate in the task at hand without judgment? The choice is entirely yours, and the power is in your wise mind. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I look forward to exploring more fascinating frameworks with you next time.